old strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Phrasing? Son of a bitch. Well, we can't start until it stops glitching. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. What is my CPU usage at right now? Must be bad. I wonder why this is. It just happens randomly. The last few streams we've had no problems. And now today, stream gods say no. This is how I feel.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Oh wow, Mini Doctors is up in the middle of the night. Look at you. I guess we'll just hang out here. I'm just gonna play some other music. Yeah. Just to keep us going while we figure out why we are lagging. My guess is we've been shadow banned by the deep state. Where's the tunes? Oh, well, they were going, and then they stopped. The thing is it's all running perfectly fine on my computer. It's just doesn't look good on the stream. Oh, wait a second. It's moving again. Oh, it looks good. It's looking better. Am I losing my mind? Is it looking better right now, chat? Hold on, I gotta open up another window. But the broadband signal, aka the lava lamp, seems to be running fine. That's the best way to know just how laggy we are on this screen. Okay, alright, cool. Cool beans. Hold on, I have to open up another window because the program crashed while we were trying to fix all of this. I genuinely need this to monitor the stream. As long as we have good lava lamp flow, we are in action. That said, this page doesn't want to load for me. Come on. Okay, I'm just gonna wait to reopen that, I guess. Is the tune being sequenced in real time or burnt to a file? The tune? Like the music? I'm not, what's the word? Like, I already have the file. I'm playing it from a, like, I guess what would be easiest to describe as like a soundboard, essentially. Just a teeny tiny wave file. Fact is, we seem to be running fine. Okay. Can I turn this down? Ah, shit. I don't think I have a filter on the specific sound. Fine, I'll do it this way. Okay. Well, good to see all you folks once again. We have got an incredible amount to look at. Thankfully, we have each other to get through it. Get on those abyss hats, folks. Got a bit of a trek to take. Through the unknown. Can I monitor on a different device? I usually do, but right now, my monitoring device is dead, and I need to charge it. I did not foresee today, entirely, the organizational aspect of today may have gone out the window. I got a phone call that took out like an hour and a half of my day. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the bandwidth somewhere it's being funneled to nothing. Alright, what do we have to do today? A bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of stuff. I started off with 80 videos today, and I've cut it down to 68. So is that 12 out of 80? It's like a sixth or something. Alright, let's start with these 3 unfortunate incidents. First, in New York, 2 women shot in Hamilton Heights. This is 21 hours ago. Whoops.
Tonight with Eyewitness News reporter Lucy Yang in Hamilton Heights, where 2 women have been shot. Lucy?
That's right. Shortly before 9 tonight, shots rang out here along West 144th Street by Broadway. This is Hamilton Heights. You can.
Before we get going, I just realized we have to deal with something here. Since I've decided to switch this up a little bit. How many do we have? We have 15. Okay. So I'll roll for 1. Where's my D6? What was that? Oh no, where'd it go? We got 1. Okay, we're gonna start it off with a bacula. Starting it off with a bacula. Did I fix it? No, I did not fix it. There we go. Alright. Now back to the news.
Imagine how frightening and upsetting this was. And of course, we all know how gun violence takes such a toll on the community. Officials confirmed 2 women were shot and rushed to Harlem Hospital. Thankfully, they are listed in stable condition. There was heavy police presence here. Officials had roped off this section of 144th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam. It looks like there were multiple spots on this block which they considered part of the crime scene. Just before the hour, they reopened this block. It's too early to say what led up to the shooting.
So yeah, they have no real clarity on why this happened. I don't believe an arrest has been made. I didn't hear them say it, and this is all the information I have on this, unfortunately.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
Till we do that, a lot of this stuff's gonna keep happening. All right, let's move on to L.A., where the family of a man shot by L.A. deputies demands justice. This is from 19 hours ago.
Today, the family of a man shot and wounded by LA County Sheriff's deputies is demanding justice from the department.
Yeah, deputies say that man was using a metal paint roller as a weapon. NBC4's Bailey Miller live at Sheriff's headquarters with more for us. Bailey.
Hey, good evening to both of you. So Isael Oriana's family gathered here outside of LASD headquarters demand.
So this is really all we needed. Excuse me, don't mean to cough in your ear. This is really all I wanted to hear. I mean, the fact is the family is seeking justice. They are attempting to, I believe, sue the department. I hope they win, because shooting a man with a paint roller is fucking nonsense. What was it? Like a week and a half ago, we saw cops in the UK take down a guy with a fucking samurai sword with what, a taser and a... I don't even think they hit him with a baton. I hope they get justice.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
Okay, next, one more shooting in Los Angeles. Not quite Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And this one's from 6 hours ago.
I'm Annabelle Sedano in for Michael Brownlee. That's not the only scene detectives are investigating at this hour. They're also looking into an incident at a nearby metro station. NBC4's Karma Dickerson is live in East Hollywood with details. Karma.
Yes, Annabelle, working to figure out how all of these different moving parts come together. But just over my shoulder, you can see the scene that you were talking about there. That is the man that was found shot in front of the hospital there. Now, there are a couple of hospitals in this area, but we're specifically talking about the hospital that is near Children's Hospital and right in front of Hollywood Presbyterian. You might be able to see that white tent there. That is where we believe police are concealing the body of the person who man shot in his 40s. Now, to back you up a little bit and tell
why people would be, why you would pick a place like this to be shooting people. Not that all people shooting people are doing it with a premeditated mindset, but what the fuck? Outside of a goddamn children's hospital? It's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Have some goddamn self-restraint.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
Okay, let's move on to some slightly more positive news. This is from 6 hours ago, King 5 Seattle, where a proposal in the, I think it's the Washington Senate, or something like that, would increase the King County's minimum wage to $20 an hour. Ow.
Well, King County could be boosting its minimum wage. Later on today, the County Council is voting on a proposal to raise it to $20.29, more than $4 higher than the state minimum wage. That raise would only apply to businesses with more than 500 employees in unincorporated King County. Smaller companies would still see the minimum wage increase by $2 to $3 an hour. The cities of Tukwila, Burien, and Renton already increased their minimum wages within the last 2 years.
When is a door not a door? When it's in a jar? Wow. Wow. Trolling the vaults for that one.
This is my Order of the Arrow
Oh,
sash.
slow down. Slow down. Slow down, sister. Just figured we'd look at that interesting story where in Washington State, specifically Kings County, where Seattle resides, is looking to increase the minimum wage to over $20 an hour. Incredible. Okay. Let's look at this next story, which I foresee becoming a big right-wing complaint. But maybe not. Maybe I'm being overly cautious, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm stoked on it, but, you know, I feel like things I get stoked about are usually stuff that right-wingers are always complaining about. Okay, this is from, what is this, the AP? Yeah, the AP from 9 hours ago. The Boy Scouts will now change their name to Scouting America in major rebrand. Go Web Go.
This is my Order of the Arrow sash. It's a National Honor Society in Scouting. I am also an Assistant Scoutmaster. I got my Eagle Scout in 2021, so I've been an Eagle Scout for 3 years now. I'm also a founder for that troop and Troop 844, which was one of the first female troops in our council. I've had a lot of trouble in the past explaining to people that I'm not exactly part of the Girl Scouts program, but I'm part of Scouts BSA. Scouting America sounds a lot more inclusive of all of the other people that are in Scouting.
I think it sends this really strong message to everyone in America that they can come to this program, they can bring their authentic self, they can be who they are.
That sounds great.
Right, and they will be welcomed
why not?
Here. The argument that I make with the people that say, well, I always like Boy Scouts of America or BSA, why do we have to change? Go, you know, membership is at historic lows, right? Part of my job.
I didn't realize that, but it makes sense.
All the barriers I possibly can for people to accept us as an organization and to join.
In the past, the name itself, or the name alone, even though we were open up to girls, there were still a couple of different challenges that we were facing. It wasn't just other scouts that were trying to put us down, but also some adults who were still not open to it. And so having it nationally recognized that girls are being welcomed and included in Scouting allows it to be a more safe space, just in general. But I think it's also important that Scouts everywhere feel like the national Scouting community is accepting them.
I just thought it was a great story. I didn't realize that was happening, but makes sense that Boy Scouts wants to change with the times. I guess we'll see whether or not there's some sort of unnecessary outrage that comes from the right over this. My guess is as good as yours. I just think it's a good plan. I mean, I was in the Scouts when I was a kid. Don't see why they shouldn't make it more inclusive. Okay. All right, let's look at this. Next one. All right, let's look at this. This is from 18 hours ago. NBC Bay Area, where San Francisco is trying to ban cancer-causing chemicals in firefighting gear.
A vote is expected tomorrow in San Francisco, which could be the first of its kind in the United States. Lawmakers hoping to mandate new protections for firefighters, essentially a wardrobe change.
And it all has to do with their uniforms and the potentially dangerous materials used to make them. But there are concerns that the fix could create even more hazards for first responders. Senior investigative reporter Begad Shaban takes us into the firefight.
Needed water coming?
Lieutenant Magali Sadie is teaching the next generation of firefighters about what to expect on the front lines.
Our whole job is to work under pressure, manage your emotions and your fears, and get the job done.
Regardless of how dangerous it may be.
Regardless.
That includes the risks they can see and the ones they can't.
I definitely don't want someone else to have to go through what I did.
Sadie is a 2-time cancer survivor. She underwent radiation and ultimately a double mastectomy. Here in San Francisco, female firefighters have a 6 times higher rate of breast cancer than the national average. The department has lost more than 300 firefighters to cancer over the past 20 years. Ongoing exposure to smoke and other chemicals is so serious, the World Health Organization now classifies firefighting as an actual carcinogen.
Nice work!
Jesus.
And in recent years, studies have also shown the jackets and pants firefighters rely on to stay safe during emergencies are made with materials proven to cause cancer.
To put something in the equipment to people who are already there to risk their life for you seems really malicious.
These so-called...
Yeah, and dumb. Malicious and dumb.
There's no point in you betraying your future self to gratify
Anyway,
your present
what was I
self.
saying?
It's a stupid game.
But yeah, no, it's just unfortunate that firefighters are dealing with this shit already, with smoke and danger in general. That's their job. But then having equipment that's filled with PFAS and other stuff like that, that's not cool, man. Although the dangers about PFAS has, maybe I'm wrong about this one. Somebody could correct me if I am. I don't think that they've become. I think they've become more. Like society has become more aware of them recently, but over the last, I don't know. I feel like I didn't really hear very much about them until maybe starting 5 years ago. Okay, let's move on to this to discuss infrastructure related stuff again, but by way of Boeing, shockingly. This is from 6 hours ago. This is a really short story. But another Boeing plane, I believe it was a Dreamliner, was rerouted just earlier today.
A flight from Paris to Seattle has landed safely after being diverted to Canada. This was an Air France Boeing Dreamliner. Air France says there was a heat smell in the cabin, so out of precaution, the plane diverted to Canada.
Now, this heat smell, my thinking is, because we've watched a bunch of videos analyzing different aspects of these Boeing planes and some of their issues. If you recall, in one of these videos, one of the pilots said that he has like sticky notes that he uses to try and remember to turn off the what is it? Not the antifreeze. It's some sort of it's something relating to I think cooling, maybe. So maybe it was antifreeze. But basically, if you leave it on for too long, it can cause the engine to start overheating really quickly for whatever reason. And to cause severe issues with the plane. And maybe I'm obviously just speculating. I have no fucking clue what it is, but I'm just thinking out loud. When I first saw that, that's what I thought to myself. Oh boy, did I shout in, or did I cough directly in Stephen K's ear upon arriving to the stream? I'm so sorry. I'm such a jerk. Just thoughtless. Just a thoughtless individual. Okay, what's next? Alright, we're gonna watch part of this from A More Perfect Union from 7 hours ago. The stat that explains why politics is so broken. What does that sound?
Do we have a government that's really by and for the people? The numbers tell us a different story. This is the share of Americans who are regular working class people, and this is the share of members of Congress who come from the working class. You see that difference? But what would a government by and for the people truly look like? It might look like this guy.
How is a mechanic from Omaha gonna beat a 12-year Republican incumbent in the red state of Nebraska? That's a great question. If anybody else can answer that, I'm just kidding.
Dan Osborne is an industrial mechanic. He served in the military, and he led 500 co-workers on strike at Kellogg's. Workers like Dan don't fit the image of a typical U.S. senator, but maybe they should.
So it's 6:30 now. Is this a normal wake-up time? What kind of hours are you putting in?
Yeah, on a normal week, I'll get to work at 7. I'll stay as late as they need me to. Less than a month ago, I worked Saturday to Saturday, and I worked 90 hours that week.
Is anyone else in the Senate putting in those kind of hours?
90 hours? I wish they would. Maybe we'd actually get something done for a change.
Oh, was it the
Wall
de-icer? It's not.
Is getting in late from a campaign event and waking up early.
Okay, then I was
First
probably
full-time
wrong
job
about
as a
that.
steam fitter.
It's wreaked havoc on my...
I highly doubt that. Where was it? In Canada and Seattle area? Yeah, I highly doubt they were using de-icer at this time of year.
Over the years, I'm 48 years old, lifting 4-inch black iron pipe, welding and grinding, and it's certainly taken its toll.
The vast majority of U.S. lawmakers are career politicians, and a lot got their start as lawyers or businessmen. But Dan's introduction to politics was pretty different.
Tonight, a labor strike by more than 1,000 Kellogg's cereal plant workers.
Around the clock, 2-month labor stare down at Kellogg's.
In 2021, 1,400 Kellogg's workers went on strike to prevent the company.
Oh shoot, did you guys get over 20 likes? You did. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. I mean, technically, if you all really want Cisco, I guess I could give it to you. But lately, I mean, I've been rolling for him. Remember, I've been using a dice. Oh, but that's a number 1. So hold on, let me roll again. Oh, it's a 2. So you get your Cisco. Here you go. Sorry, I don't know how long I let my duty just go by the wayside just now. I apologize for just neglecting that, but hopefully that rectifies at least part of it.
From gutting their wages and benefits.
Is this hardball?
This is absolutely hardball.
Dan led the strike at his plant in Omaha, where he had worked for almost 20 years.
We were on strike for 77 days, not knowing if we were ever going to be able to work there again.
Okay, we're not gonna watch this whole thing because it's like 10 minutes long, but it's a great video, so we're just gonna hit a couple spots in here.
Are and where most people are. When Nebraskans have been asked directly what they want in ballot initiatives, they voted for wage increases, Medicaid expansion, and now there's a grassroots push to give all Nebraskans pay.
Oh my god, great point. I wasn't even thinking of that. But ice builds up on aircraft at any time of the year because it's the altitude. Huh. Thank you for correcting me. Maybe it was that.
I think it's kind of a misconception to say that
paid sick leave or labor rights in general should be
Olivia Pope.
considered progressive. People have a hunger for change. They want to make sure that they're taken care of, that their kids are taken care of, that they can take time off to be sick.
There was a big study years ago, and researchers looked into what makes a policy more likely to pass if it's supported by ordinary people or economic elites. And nobody saw this one coming, but the more elites supported a policy, the more likely it was to pass. But when ordinary people supported a policy, there was no correlation with its likelihood of passing.
Okay. Now, this video is honestly great. I assume most of you, if not all of you, are already subscribed to a More Perfect Union. They're honestly something of a new channel. I think they've only been around now for maybe, Jesus. Like, in terms of how fast they've grown, I don't know. I'm afraid to make an actual guess right now because, oh God, but I want to say they've been around for at least now, I guess like a year and a half, but like in a very short time, they became very, very big. And it's because their videos are so goddamn good. But I think we all know that last statistic, maybe we should go back to this real quick, but this has been the case for way too long. Okay? You change this graph big time. Okay, what's next? Essentially, I'm sorry, I should have finished that thought. And essentially the point of that video was that since only 2% of people in Congress are working people, or come from a background of working normal jobs, you know, making that number bigger is probably a good start, right? Just getting normal people in Congress. Okay, do we watch this one right now? You know, what time is it? How far are we in? That goddamn latency crisis has slowed me down. I'm gonna skip this one. Let's go to this next one. What the hell is that? Hold on. I'll be right back. Fuck it, I'll fix that later. Okay. Alright, let's watch this one. We are going to quickly look at the protests that are still happening in the United States. First, let's look at this from Democracy Now! Stop weaponizing anti-Semitism. Police body slam Jewish Dartmouth professor at campus Gaza protest. This is from 11 hours ago. Jesus. Body slamming professors. That's great.
The now infamous.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Palestinians in Rafah say they're trapped as Israeli tanks have taken over the crossing on Gaza's border with Egypt. The United Nations says Israel's denying access to the southern Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing as aid groups warn of impending catastrophe amidst chaotic scenes of families fleeing with no safe option for shelter. The area came under heavy aerial bombardment again overnight as Israel vowed to continue its attacks on Rafah even after Hamas said it had accepted a ceasefire proposal advanced by Qatari and Egyptian mediators Monday. Israel rejected the ceasefire but said it would...
Sorry. Hold on. I'm just going to move us forward. I forgot that they did some other news as well. Where does this start? It starts like right around here.
Emergency health care workers in southern Lebanon. Rights groups say the attack was a violation of international law. Gaza solidarity protests continue at college campuses across the United States, as does the police crackdown. On Monday, 43 arrests were reported at UCLA. At the University of California, San Diego, video shows a crowd of student protesters blocking a police bus from leaving with arrested students. This comes after UC Riverside protesters announced Friday it has become the first UC campus to reach a deal with the school to start evaluating its ties with Israel. At Harvard, students and faculty rallied Monday after the administration threatened mass expulsions for hundreds of arrested protesters. This is Issa, a Palestinian student at Harvard who's lost over 120 family members in Gaza.
Over the last 6 months, more than 124 people in my family have been brutally killed by the Israeli occupation forces. Shame! For the last 6 months, I have had to wake up to messages of my cousin being shot on his bike, of my aunt going blind because she can't get medication for her blood pressure, of my entire uncle's house falling down on them. There is nothing this country can do, nothing the police can do, nothing this administration can do to me that will scare me from fighting for justice.
Harvard professor Walter Johnson spoke to students in solidarity with their protest.
There's no room for reasoned discussion about this action. If Harvard will not disclose its investments in the occupied territories, in the Israeli military, and in Gaza.
Nearby, students from a dozen high schools in the Boston area joined the MIT protest Monday, as students there also defied a deadline to clear their encampment. Students at SUNY Purchase here in New York State celebrated late Monday as Gaza solidarity activists announced the school had met protesters' demands, quote, to disclose and cut ties with war crimes and genocide, unquote. Here in New York City, Columbia's canceled its main university-wide graduation ceremony May 15th amid mounting fallout from its mishandling of this protests. Students across New York and other protesters marched through city streets Monday, culminating in a rally near the glitzy, celebrity-filled Met Gala ceremony, where they were met with a heavy police presence. Student protests and encampments are continuing.
Okay. That's all we're going to grab from that video. Thank you so much, Amy. But yeah, just as you can all see, the protests are still continuing, if not growing, regardless of the police crackdown, which is just so amazing to see. Oh, wait a second. I almost forgot about the interview they did in this one. Wait, where is it? Shit. Wait, am I losing my mind? Did I skip past it somehow? I'm losing my mind, Amy. Maybe she just described it. I could have sworn they interviewed her, but maybe I'm just misremembering. All right. Let's move on to this next one. Just going to quickly look again at the Met Gala protest, which we caught a brief glimpse of yesterday, but this is some more footage from it, starting with The Guardian.
Time right here. There it is. Beautiful. Straight ahead in the middle.
Everybody right this way.
If you remain in the roadway and refuse to utilize the sidewalk, you will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly conduct. This is the New York City Police Department. You are unlawfully in the roadway and obstructing vehicular traffic. This is the New York City Police Department.
Jesus Christ.
In the roadway and obstructing vehicular traffic.
This is so unnecessary. They're just grabbing people out of nowhere for nothing who aren't committing any crimes. Just talking loudly in a place they'd prefer them not to be. just don't understand how you could go to work and do this every day. This is disgusting. Jesus Christ.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Okay. What next? Alright, we're going to go to this, where MIT students defied the deadline to end the Gaza Solidarity encampment. It's from 19 hours ago. Yeah.
We're here at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where you can see students from this university. They're protesting here. They have set up an encampment that is right on the other side of that tent, and they've been told that that encampment is going to be removed. You can see the students here. They're demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. They're demanding an end to divestment, which is the investment of the university funds in companies, for example, that the students say are profiting from the ongoing war. But this is just an example of what's been going on in many universities across the country. On the other side, you can see there's another group of students with United States flags and Israeli flags. They're also carrying pictures of those who have been taken captive by Hamas in Gaza. What's going on here is just an example of what...
It was one of the saddest encampments I've ever seen. It was like 6 people. And there's like 10,000 people on the other side.
Across the country. It's not clear yet whether the police is going to move into the camp to remove the tents, but students here are saying that no matter what happens, they will continue to take to their campuses, they will continue to take to the streets to demand an end to the war in Gaza.
Okay. Tomorrow, look for Humanist Report's coverage on this, on the MIT protest. The only thing is I haven't been using any leftists stuff too much. I've been trying not to, aside from Democracy Now, because they're like OGs and they're like straight up journalists. But like for like it's quasi commentary, quasi journalist channels, I guess like for the leftists, I try not to use it unless I have like explicit permission. Unless people have like made it explicit that they are okay with people, such as myself, like clipping their stuff. Like I just want to know that I'm not like whatever stepping on toes and things like that, which is why I try and get first like primary sources first and foremost. But I may look for what you're talking about. We'll see. Although today on the Majority Report, I feel like, and I could be wrong about this, but I think Sam basically gave people like me a green light on clipping his channel as long as we're not, you know, just doing it in some sort of a negative connotation. I think that was the general gist of it. Which may mean we will be watching MR videos from time to time around here. We'll see. Alright, let's go to the University of Chicago, where faculty join students after they are threatened to be arrested.
The protests continue at the University of Chicago. On Monday, a group of faculty, and some of them are standing here within the encampment, say that they stand with the protesting students, and they say they're willing to be arrested with them if necessary. The University of Chicago has...
Like, I know that, like, for instance, like Lance, like from the Surfs, uses the Humanist Report all the time, but I've heard him explicitly say that they have, like, an agreement to, like, be cool with one another just playing each other's content on their channels, and I get that, and I just want to be respectful of people, you know.
Long history of allowing free speech and protesting, but one professor says there is an exception for Palestinian issues. What do you call that exception?
I call that anti-Palestinian racism and anti-Muslim racism and anti-Arab racism. Ultimately, it's a belief that Palestinians are not human beings, that they do not deserve the same care, respect, voice that other people get.
Chicago police have shown no reluctance to come in and arrest students. Over the weekend, they arrested dozens of students at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And at DePaul University, they responded to clashes between pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian protesters.
Okay. So yeah, the teachers decided to stand in solidarity with the students at University of Chicago after they were threatened there, and thought that was a great little addition to this segment we're doing right now. How fucking deep in am I right now? 56 minutes. Okay. I am not moving as fast as I would like to be. Good God. Wait, where are we? There. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let's look at this real quick from NBC LA. We're actually going to watch 2 NBC LAs in a row, as there's still pro-Palestinian protesters on both UCLA and campus and Pomona College campus. So we're just going to watch these back to back.
News Chopper 4 is live over Pomona College in Claremont right now, where protesters have set up a new encampment. And what's different about this one, this is on the commencement stage. So let's get up to Roland Spruill, who has a closer look. Roland, this is a new one.
Yeah, and what they've done here, Adrian, is here at Pomona College, they've taken over the graduation stage, and this is in an area they call Marston Quad, and you can see a couple of protesters standing right there. This is an encampment that was established, cropped up around 5 o'clock yesterday morning. It's not a huge encampment, but nonetheless, I'm sure they're no less passionate, all of that to have their voices heard in regards to the Israeli-Gaza conflict. You can see those tents down up underneath the big graduation tent. Of course, their intent here is to try and stop graduation ceremonies and have their voices.
The way they frame it is a little fucked, but what can you expect? But at least we know that it's happening. That's the important part. I just find it great that these protests have not fizzled out, even with the fact that college.
It's Tuesday morning in the middle.
Whoops! Even though the semester is ending, they are not giving up.
Another day of high.
Move on.
And today, that campus decided to go to remote learning once again for the rest of the week. NBC4's Karma Dickerson starts our team coverage tonight.
The protesters arrested earlier today at UCLA were brought here to the Van Nuys jail, and those protesters are being released as we speak. Now, the blankets you see over my shoulder, they are for the camera's benefit. They're being held up to block those protesters from our view. Outside the jail in Van Nuys, a show of support for protesters arrested earlier today at UCLA. As each protester walked out of jail, the crowd greeted them with cheers. Waiting for them at the bottom of the stairs was a tent set up by the LA Public Defender's Office and food brought in by supporters. The people we approached didn't want to talk, only saying their goal was to get everyone home safely. This after an ordeal that began about 12 hours earlier.
I love that.
Around 6 this morning, UCLA police detained more than 40 people in a parking lot on the UCLA campus.
The detention at this moment in time is 148 subsection A of the penal code.
Oh no, not the penal code.
Don't be creepy.
Okay. I think that's all the videos we have of protests in the United States to look at. Oh, no, we don't. We have one more. This one's upsetting, though. We were just talking about that video of the University of Chicago protest where the teachers joined in after they threatened arrest. Well, that did not deter the police. This is from 10 hours ago from the AP, where police clear pro-Palestinian tent encampment at the University of Chicago.
Shame on you! might be happening. Wow, they're letting them in.
Actually, I take it back. I only listened to this one. I didn't watch it. This isn't upsetting at all. I just went by the headline just now. This is actually police letting them go. At least it looks like it. I don't know why they've titled it as such. Doesn't look like a clearing. Looks like they just walked through the police. Thanks for debating me, AP. Good job on that one. This is what I get for listening to these instead of watching each and every one. Like, I would say I managed to watch like half, if not more, but, you know, gotta also do other things during the day. Debated. God damn you, AP. How many times will you get me? Okay, now before we move on to the, actually, why is this in this order? This should be here. There we go. Okay. Alright, first we're going to look at this, which is, in fact, upsetting. I can tell you that with, no equivocation. Why did you just verify that framework just now? What the fuck just happened? Sorry, chat. My computer just sent a message I did not understand entirely, but I think it's okay. Okay. Let's go on to this. This is an upsetting video, like I was saying. This is from 7 hours ago from CBS News, where 15 House Democrats have called for Biden to take an executive action on the border.
And we have breaking news now. 15 House Democrats are calling for President Biden to do something about the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border. In a letter first obtained by CBS News, the group urges Biden to, quote, immediately take further action to restore order at the southern border and fix our immigration system. The president...
Okay, this is all we need to watch of this. However, I tried to look into it. I cannot find the names of the people who have signed on to this bill yet. I did some digging, like, for a while, honestly. Could not find it. I think we can probably do some guessing as to who. It's most likely the very centrist types of Democrats who did this. It's just not necessary. Putting pressure on Biden over this in this moment over the fucking border. What is the point of that right now? It's just nonsense. It's like the Republicans trying to oust Johnson right now. Just useless use of time. Okay. Let's look at this real quickly. This is from 2 hours ago. TikTok is suing the United States to block the law that could ban the social media platform. Wait, don't do this to me. This is not the right video. Fuck it, we're just gonna skip it. Go straight to that. Go.
The challenge that we have today is when I have a
bastard. This is not what I asked you to do at all. Go back. There we go. TikTok.
Welcome back. All right, TikTok isn't going down without a fight. The company is now suing
the United States. This comes after President Biden signed a bill to ban the social media company unless it was sold. We've been talking about this for quite some time now, so let's go ahead and bring back tech and business reporter Scott Budman. Scott, you've been following this. You've been staying on top of it. Was this expected?
Not really, Audrey. It seemed that when that bill was signed, and remember, this is the one thing that has brought Democrats and Republicans together, is a desire to get rid of TikTok. We thought what would happen, and I think what TikTok users were hoping to see, is that a company or maybe a big consortium of venture capitalists would come forward with a gigantic check and say, okay, ByteDance, Chinese owner of TikTok, let's buy an American version off your...
There's no way that private equity would ruin TikTok, right?
And so that A, money can still be made, and B, all those users will have their favorite app. Instead, this kind of mucks things up. Now there's a lawsuit. They're claiming their First Amendment rights are violated. And they're also hinting that China and the Chinese company that owns TikTok is really not willing to get into the ring and bargain. And that's what has to happen, according to this bill that was signed by President Biden.
Okay. Well, I think that encompasses the entire issue for us quite nicely. TikTok suing on First Amendment grounds. And we'll see what exactly happens with that. Not sure it will fly. Okay, now moving along to environmental, ecological type of stuff here. This is from a day ago. Ooh, another more. Did I put 2 more Perfect Union videos in here today? My God. My God. I feel like I don't use their videos that much, but 2 in one day. That's crazy. Alright, let's look at part of this one. This is from a more perfect union from a day ago. Corporations are buying public water systems while bills are skyrocketing. Huh, I wonder if there's a correlation there. Go web go.
The challenge that we have today is when I have a senior citizen call me and tell me she's peeing in the backyard because her water bill and her sewer bill doubled. And no one cared about that.
Across the country, private companies are swooping in to buy water and sewer systems from the local governments that own them. The result for customers? Skyrocketing bills more than double what they used to be at a time when inflation is hitting Americans' wallets hard.
The motive for investor-owned utilities is profit, revenue, and that's what matters. It's not water quality. It's not reliability. It's not whether...
What's another word for investors? Or phrase for investors? Private equity.
The customers are happy. It's not your neighbor. It's just a money-making machine.
They present their efforts as a win-win scenario to save taxpayers money and local governments from financial ruin.
Aqua pitched it as free money. Money you can do anything you want with.
What really that is just a bait and switch technique. They promise the world and they deliver pain to the customers who have to foot the bill into perpetuity.
And over the past decade, investor-owned corporations have successfully lobbied many state governments, like Pennsylvania, to make it easier and more attractive for local governments to make the sale. And when those companies come knocking in their town, many people don't know what's happening until it's too late.
It generally isn't done in broad daylight. Nobody's for it.
This is a story about the corporate takeover of one of our most...
We've got to nationalize the water supply. Shit is out of control. Because it's not just this, right? Because this is a more recent trend. The bottling companies have been just robbing us, like basically paying nothing for the water that they take, making billions of dollars off of it. It's a fucked situation. Let's move on to a little further down the line on this video. There's a good spot. Yeah, like right here.
They start to double and triple, and when people start to see the bills, they basically started to call Aqua to say, why is my bill so high?
My June 2022 bill for 13,000 gallons was $234.27. My very next bill, and this is when the rate increase had gone into effect, I used 1,000 gallons less, 12,000 gallons, and the bill was $413.33. You call Aqua's customer service line, they can't help you, they don't know what's going on. People feel frustrated that nobody is taking responsibility for what has happened.
Yeah, it's completely fucked. It's completely fucked. It's just for profits on something that is intrinsically a necessity for humans. Water. One might call it a human right. It's fucking nonsense. Anyway, that video is honestly pretty fucking great, and you should watch the rest of it, but since I'm moving kinda slow today, gotta move forward. We watched, I think we watched a part of this hearing, or at least like the first day of this hearing, by way of Jamie Raskin's little documentary that he did on the environment, specifically relating to the cover-up of big oil, relating to the effects of the oil industry on the environment. This is a very nonsense exchange, so prepare yourself for this one. This is Ron Johnson asking Jamie Raskin, where's the proof? This guy's a fucking idiot.
Thank you very much, Senator Kay. Next is Senator Johnson, who will be followed by Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congressman, welcome.
Senator.
Are you aware of the World Climate Declaration? There is no climate emergency. It's signed by now over 1,800 global scientists, professionals.
There is no climate emergency? It was.
Are you aware of that declaration?
I'm not aware of that one. I assume I'm aware, familiar.
I entered in the record.
Okay. Well, let's just stop it right there. I need to stop it 10 seconds, 25 seconds in. But I looked this supposed quote-unquote there is no climate emergency study that he is referencing, and I do recommend that you go and look it up. It is essentially a large portion of the people that are involved with this study that he's going to reference multiple times are A, not climatologists, B, oil like representatives of oil, or have been paid by big oil. Like a large majority of the people on this study. So prepare yourselves for some very slanted shit.
I recommend you read. I thought one of the
and honestly, the fact that he's quoting a study like this at a hearing about big oil covering up the effects of climate change is this weird sort of like it's like this weird sort of Twilight Zone of a circular logic type of situation, right? Like he's arguing against big oil's cover up by using big oil's cover up, and it breaks me inside just a little bit.
And it will be entered into the record.
Well, I already did it, but we'll enter into this one too. I thought one of the interesting statements in there is the obvious that CO2 is plant food. If you want a green planet, you need some CO2. But anyway, you ought to take a look at that. You know, I'm okay. By the way, I'm not a climate change denier. I'm just not a climate change alarmist like you and the chairman. I would call myself a climate change realist. In your testimony, you say, my watery home state of Maryland with more than 7,100 miles of coastline is strikingly vulnerable to the effects of climate change and the rising sea level. So that's one of the biggest alarms of...
So just so you know, that's just how much he cares, you know? He doesn't even let that bother him, the fact that his state is very susceptible to climate change. What a wow.
Aren't I a good guy? The climate change, folks, is that the sea level rise and just wipe out coastlines, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So are you aware of how much the sea level has risen in the Bay of San Francisco since the last glaciation period of, some 12 to 20,000 years ago, which is...
I feel like he doesn't actually know what he's saying. He's just repeating something. But I think it's pretty obvious to anybody with a brain that 20,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, or whatever it was 12,000? I think it might be 20, whatever. One of these figures he's quoting is the end of the last ice age. You would assume that there would be more water than there was during the ice age. But this guy tries to use it as some sort of it's like irrefutable proof that this is just normal. Totally normal.
Blink of the eye in geologic time. Do you know how much the sea level has risen in the Bay of San Francisco in that time?
I do not know that one.
You want to just take a guess?
No, because I'm not guessing very well today, so no.
It's 390 feet. Do you think there's anything mankind could have done to prevent that level sea level rise?
Yes.
Of 390 feet, just again, 20,000 years.
Well,
you think there's something we could do about that?
No,
Okay, good. That's the answer. No, there's nothing we could do about.
Unfortunately, Jamie Raskin, this poor guy, he's gone through a lot of effort to bring this here, and this dude is just bringing all of the nonsense made up by the oil industry to try and disprove what's happening here in front of us, and it's just, oh God, these shouldn't be the conversations that are being had in a serious place.
And by the way, the chairman mentioned witnesses brought before this committee have. Let me tell you what some of them have said. Majority witnesses. When I asked a majority witness, about 80% of world power in the U.S. globally is created by fossil fuel.
All right. We're done. We're done with that. We could listen to the whole thing. Honestly, Jamie Raskin kind of comes back at him decently well. But, I just can't deal with listening to this bullshit anymore. And, let's look at some of the proof. How's that sound, chat? Let's go to this from a day ago. Drone footage shows the extent of flooding in Texas. Now, we were looking at this flooding yesterday. Things have progressed even further. Good God. This is intense. There's no proof. There's not enough proof. Not enough proof in the world for old Ron Johnson. In fact, there's a video that I'm saving for later this weekend I want to talk about regarding all of the the very recent activity that's been done by man. Okay. So yeah, as we've been paying attention to it for the last few days, I think the flooding in Texas has been quite severe. And it has been going all the way up into the Midwest. Last night, while we were streaming, tornadoes were going through the Midwest area, Nebraska, Oklahoma, as well as Texas. Let's start with this footage, which was fucking insane. I did not know what I was gonna see when I watched this. I genuinely wasn't expecting this shit. Okay, so you can see this. You're in a parking lot. Got a bunch of cars in front of you. Got a building there. You can see that it's getting kind of stormy. Right? And then, starting now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So about 5 or 6 seconds, and all the cars on that was next to the building, as well as the building, obviously, are all fucking gone. 5 seconds, completely leveled, as well as a bunch of other shit that came from out of nowhere. That shit is fucking crazy. And I hope everybody is all right. Hard to know at this time. This is from 15 hours ago now, according to WHAS 11, which I think is not Ohio, Oklahoma, maybe. At least 16 tornadoes have been reported in 6 states on Monday night.
This morning, violent storms slamming the Midwest. Life-threatening tornadoes touching down across multiple states. In Oklahoma, several homes and businesses reportedly destroyed.
It's going to be for a tornado hit there, the house has fallen, there's a person trapped under the house.
Authorities say search and rescue efforts are underway. About 150 miles west, these dark tornado storms threatening the 1,000-person town of Okeen, Oklahoma. Lightning electrifying the skies in Guthrie. Forecasters have issued a rare high-risk weather warning for the area.
Pay close attention to this storm. Listen to our language very closely, listen to our tone, and be ready to seek shelter if a tornado warning does come.
It's funny, we were watching that and literally telling people, yeah, please be safe. Like the moment, I think I found that video right before I went on stream that day. That shit is just fucking scary. Wait, why did no, we don't need to pause this. We're going to keep watching this.
Out on this.
In Smithville, Tennessee, a tornado ripping up trees
all the way to
and destroying
Tennessee.
homes.
Oh
It
my
was like
God.
a whistle from the tornado. It sounded like a whistle to me.
Maybe that's why we haven't seen one of our mods lately. Oh no. Somebody...
And then there was just like loud noises everywhere.
Damage and large hail reported in Kansas. Strong winds and heavy rain also pummeling London, Kentucky and Harrisonburg, Virginia. Further south in Texas, people still recovering from major flooding. Governor Greg Abbott announcing at least 3 deaths due to the severe storms, including a child swept away by floodwaters.
There now are 91 counties that have been impacted by this ravaging storm. 91 counties for which I have declared a state disaster.
All right, enough of you, Greg Abbott. Hold on, I gotta grab my charger. Otherwise, my phone is gonna die. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the delay. All right. We have definitely more to look at this, and the situation just seems to be getting worse and worse. Right now, it's just the beginning of tornado season, and this is pretty bad. I think we've already surpassed our normal amount of tornadoes for this time of year. Okay, let's look at this from 13 hours ago, where a new round of tornadoes ripped through central U.S. More on the way. That's right, you heard it right, chat. More are coming, which I think there may be some on the ground right now.
This morning, fears of a violent tornado outbreak across the plains turned into a devastating reality. With the 1,000-person town of Barnsdall, Oklahoma, still reeling from a tornado just 1 month ago, overrun by an incredibly dangerous and powerful twister overnight. The local sheriff says 1 person's confirmed dead and multiple are injured, though it's not clear exactly how many.
I got you.
There were rescues too, including at this nursing home, though the center says all residents are okay.
We saw some wrecked cars,
and then saw this house completely off of its foundation, just obliterated over here.
The destructive aftermath of a probable long-track tornado stretching all the way to...
I'm honestly still kind of in shock that we heard that he hit Tennessee, because there was no real prediction for that to be happening. I really hope everybody in Tennessee is okay. I have not heard a whole lot about it, and it just happened, but the prediction was for it to go more north, and it just shifted eastward.
By Bartlesville, where this Hampton Inn saw its roof collapse. The fear felt all over Oklahoma as tornado sirens blared overnight and more. The worst part of the storm striking in the middle of the night, hitting not just Oklahoma, but at least a half dozen other states.
If you have any sort of helmet to protect your head, go ahead and put that helmet on.
Residents left with no choice but to shelter in place. Some tornadoes traveling as fast as 60 miles an hour.
Gary! Right there.
In Tennessee, another twister uprooted.
Traveling at 60 miles an hour? Jesus Christ. Because that's not the wind speed, right? That's how fast the tornado is moving from where the bottom of the funnel is at any given point. So it's moving like a car on a highway. Holy fuck. Alright, we're going to skip ahead to this one and look at Oklahoma, where at least one person has been declared dead after the second tornado in 5 weeks hits the same town.
So sorry.
This footage is insane. You can see clearly that an entire corner of this neighborhood is just flat into the ground. When you see it from the air, it becomes much more clear just what the the extent of the damage is.
Three and a half.
All right,
All right, we are gonna watch one last video about this. This one's tough. This one's tough, but has a. Well, I won't ruin it. Let's just watch this.
I was really, really scared.
This morning, 9-year-old Branson Baker dubbed a hero after helping save his parents' lives when they were caught in an EF4 tornado.
Oh, powerful tornado!
The storm tearing through Oklahoma April 27th. Branson and his parents, Wayne and Lindy Baker, racing for safety, driving to their friend's storm shelter.
We could pretty much see the tornado within about a mile, 2 miles away from us. But as we turned, the tornado turned itself.
The tornado uprooting a tree, hitting the Baker's truck full force, trapping Wayne and Lindy. But Branson able to escape, running over a mile to get help.
As soon as I went to go get help, I said, "Don't die."
Branson sprung into action really quick. He's a very courageous son. For a 9-year-old boy, not many adults would have done what he did.
Wayne's brother, Johnny, was on the phone with the family as the collision happened.
About that time,
You start hearing some dinging on the glass, like maybe hell, and then boom, and the phone went silent.
Johnny rushing to the scene, calling 911. First responders arriving, and Branson returning with help. Wayne now recovering from back, neck, and arm injuries. His wife, Lindy, still in the hospital.
Oh, boy. It's a tough story, but at least, you know, it has a semi-happy ending where this, with this kid managing to, you know, get help by running for a full mile to find help. Unfortunately, his mother seems to be in pretty dire condition right now. Okay, we're going to leave the United States now and talk about similar problems but in different places. Let's look at this from 7 hours ago, where aerial video shows the devastation of deadly Brazil floods. You wanted to take the story serious, but his mullet prevented you from doing so. I don't blame you for that. This shit is wild. Like, this place isn't supposed to look like Venice. I'm going to point that out to you, just in case you're unaware. That's a road, not a pond. In a parking lot. It's insane. The place looks like a ghost town, aside from this one over-surface road right here. Jesus. It's just so fucking eerie, this footage. Just does not look right at all. It's really freaking me out. Good God. Very disturbing and concerning. We're seeing too much footage like this pop up from everywhere. Just really creepy, flooded cities. Massive cities. Like that. That instead look like just incredible CGI or something. Like for some apocalypse movie. Alright, let's look at this next. This is from BBC News. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're at least going to quickly look at this. This is from 13 hours ago. Where, according to scientific data, now, after a study done in Windermere, it would seem that high tourist numbers are causing the lake to turn green.
Windermere, England's largest lake, is of course a beautiful place, but a couple of years ago it turned bright green with blooming algae. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Now researchers think a high number of visitors could be to blame because a report which analysed satellite imagery and mobile phone data is suggesting that maybe the blooms could be caused by sewage discharges during busy periods. Here's an explanation from our environment correspondent Jonah Fisher.
Before swimming in Lake Windermere, it's best to check the water.
It looks really good, very clear.
I'm with Pete Kelly. He runs wild swimming trips across the Lake District.
There isn't a second level there, which means there's no poo in the water. Is it cold? Absolutely
How
freezing.
reassuring.
Checks complete and well insulated, we head out into one of England's most beautiful natural wonders.
It's the most iconic lake in the country. It's the longest lake in England. It's surrounded by beautiful fells. You get that real big lake experience.
But Lake Windermere is, according to campaigners, in big trouble.
It's a bit cold, but it's beautifully clear out there in the water today. But it's not always like that. A combination of high nutrient levels and warm temperatures mean that, particularly in the summer, Lake Windermere has been turning green.
Yeah, and we're not going to watch this whole thing because it's not the most important of the issues that we're talking about today. But I just want to remind us of the fact that humans are in fact impacting the goddamn environment. I don't know why I insist on driving that home, but it does feel necessary. And so yeah, let's move on. After looking at that microcosm of the environment, let's look at Kenya, where the government says floods have now affected over 200,000 people. We are dying from this lake. The lake water is killing us down here. When I take a look around, I get tongue-tied. Yeah, it's nuts. My tongue is also tied. It's just the whole... everywhere you're looking, it's just water. Alright, we got more footage. We're just going to continue to look at this. Oh, wait. Actually, no. No. This video needs some context. Still here with Kenya. And as we can see, there's a lot of areas in Kenya that are low-lying, that are being inundated by flooding, and it's affecting literally hundreds of thousands of people. However, Kenya's government has come up with a plan, one which deserves a great deal of criticism, at least in the implementation of the plan. Do I understand the reason for it? Yes. The way they've done it here is... And fact is, I have no idea how much it costs to build a house in Africa, or in Kenya particularly, for people that are being displaced right now, but it can't possibly. Okay, hold on. I'm going to read this. This is from the AP. Kenya's government is demolishing houses in flood-prone areas and is offering $75 in aid to displaced people. $75. You heard me correctly. Less than $100 US being given to Kenyans whose houses you're about to see are being destroyed by the government in an attempt to get people out of a flood-prone area. $75. Jesus. Now what are we going to do? We love our president, and that is why we supported him. He should come to our aid because here we have no problem moving. We ask for urgent help to resettle people here who have nowhere to stay and nothing to eat. This is not how you fix environmental problems. Ruto, we voted for you because you said you will safeguard the poor. Now, are you helping with the poor, or are you actually finishing them off? If you plan to finish poor people in Kenya, then just bomb us all. You're finishing us, Ruto, and you claim to be a man of God. This is fucked up. Jesus Christ.
Bulldozers carrying sand.
$75. Can you imagine restarting your life with $75? I'm just wondering. Because I'm struggling to think about it. Does not sound fun. Yeah, I guess I'll just find somewhere else to live. Thanks. Appreciate the $75. Now, does $75 go further in Kenya than it does in the United States? Yeah, undoubtedly, but not that much farther. I mean, Jesus Christ. Okay, now to a very, very, very similar story, but slightly different execution. This is right next door in Libya, where Libya is currently rebuilding its flood-devastated Derna. Which, if you're unaware, was flooded quite dramatically in a historical flood very recently. It was like about 7 months ago.
Bulldozers carrying sand drive down the streets of Derna in eastern Libya. Months after September's deadly and devastating floods, the city shows some signs of recovery. Construction workers are helping rebuild the damaged structures and landmarks. But while buildings are going up and roads are being repaired, residents are still shocked by the severity of the loss. Yamna al-Shahibi's son and his family died in the flood. She says it's the worst disaster she's ever seen, having lived in Derna for 70 years. Huge swaths of the city were destroyed after heavy rainfall from Storm Daniel crashed through 2 aging dams. Thousands of people died, with thousands more still missing. According to an international report by the World Bank, United Nations, and European Union, flooding destroyed or damaged more than 18,000 homes and affected about 1.5 million people, or 22% of Libya's population.
22% of Libya's population was affected by that one flood. And I would point out Libya is a pretty big country. It's like the size of, it's not quite the size of Texas, but it's pretty big. Why is the earth so blurry? Whatever. Okay. Now, just to remind you all just a little bit more, even though they gave us a little bit of context, I just want to look at this from 7 months ago from the BBC News, where they did a story on this. Libya flooding, fears of up to 20,000 dead.
Hello and welcome, I'm Samantha Simmons. We begin in Libya, where there are fears that the number of people who've died in the catastrophic floods there could reach as many as 20,000. A tsunami-like river of floodwaters swept through the port city of Derna on Sunday after 2 dams burst. Joan Wood has this report.
Derna is a city overwhelmed. First by water, then by the scale of the humanitarian...
I just want to go back, because this... this image is fucking insane.
First,
this, like, path of the floodwater is fucking crazy. It's so massive.
Water. Then by the scale of the humanitarian catastrophe the flooding has caused. And finally overwhelmed by grief at the loss of life. God give me patience. My heart is with you, this man cries as he sees the body of his young son. It's now becoming clearer that this was a natural disaster, but enabled by human actions. The Wadi Derna River had 2 dams, both failed. The upper one, 10 kilometres from the town, had a capacity of about 1.5 million cubic metres of water. When that burst, that water, with a weight of about 1.5 million tonnes, rushed to the sea, sweeping the second dam and about a quarter of the city with it.
Okay. I think that's enough depressing context for that last video, but as you can see, Libya is attempting to rebuild. I mean, it's a country of, what, 50 million people, I think? Maybe more. No, I was totally wrong. 7 million people. Totally wrong about that number. I don't know why I thought those. It's a big country by landmass. Okay, whatever. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again at some point. That's what I get for guessing. Okay, couple more videos on environmental and whatnot stuff. This is actually an interesting and non-upsetting video. This is from 5 hours ago from the AP. How sperm whales might be talking to each other.
Sperm whales communicate with each other by clicks. And these clicks come in rapid bursts. A group of clicks forms a coda. And we believe that a coda is sort of like a foundational building block for the communication structure of whales. We started with a data set that consists of vocalizations of whales recorded through tags that get placed on the bodies of whales. In fact, we have found that the communication among whales is much more complex than it was previously thought. We get to a conclusion that says it seems like we have a phonetic alphabet.
I just think it's amazing that they have been documenting this to this degree. Obviously, many of you probably know already that I speak whale, as we interviewed some of the orcas' representation during their unrelenting attacks on sailing boats. Lately, they have seemingly stood down. Not sure why. Okay, enough of that. Let's launch this last one just to remind us of this fact. This is from 7 hours ago. Does recycling actually make a difference? New report details how there's a plastic waste crisis. As we've discussed before, nobody here is telling you to not recycle. It's just the fact that as it comes to plastic, the ability to recycle plastic is degraded very quickly, and it does not, much of it does not get recycled, unfortunately. But let's watch this report just to remind ourselves of this unfortunate fact.
From paper to aluminum, glass, and plastic, it turns out our plastic waste might not be as easily recycled. Last week, ABC 13 meteorologist Elise Smith showed us how the city of Houston manages recycling, and tonight she shows us the recycling of plastics.
Look around your home, your office, aisles of grocery stores. Plastic has made its way into so many parts of our lives, it's unavoidable.
I think we've been spoiled. It's kind of hard to imagine, the world without plastics.
And up to this point, the main way to manage our plastic waste is through recycling.
The EPA reports that over 35 million tons of plastic was generated in the United States in 2018. Only 8.7% of that was recycled. So if you were to buy a 24-pack of bottled water, only 2 bottles would have been recycled using that ratio.
Recycling.
It's a disaster of a ratio. Okay. If you're not doing the math. And that's why we need to be looking to switch to things like glass in as many contexts as we possibly can. As glass is infinitely recyclable, so is aluminum. Essentially. At least, especially if you compare it to oil-based plastic, which is almost immediately degraded after the first time that you recycle it. I wish people were telling me that when I first heard about recycling. But doesn't mean you should stop. It just means we need to stop using so much goddamn plastic. Oh, okay. Wow. The first half of the show only took an hour and 50 minutes. Really great job, me.
I don't want reality.
Well, I hope you're all enjoying the show so far. If you haven't already, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to help me in other ways, well, you have one real choice. To go onto my Patreon and become a Galactic producer. For just a few dollars a month, you can help what we do here in the Galactic News Network, as well as get access to super cool space benefits. Alright, chat, well, enjoy this intermission. I'll be back shortly. Grab yourself a drink, a snack, a dip in the pool, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay. Don't worry, I won't stop the break quite yet. You all keep drinking and snacking and dipping. I'm still trying to get myself fully ready for the second half.
Let's get the thoughts of
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, never occurred to me.
Interesting.
Just crazy enough to work.
Yeah.
Follow the ridgeway.
Cal? It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Okay. Well, we did Gaza protests in the United States. Well, let's look at them around the world now. This is from 19 hours ago from France 24 English, where they discuss the generational gap. Just like in the 60s, student protesters delegitimated by the powers that be.
Let's get the thoughts of Eric Fassin. He's a professor of sociology at Paris 8 University. Eric, thanks so much for joining us here. We've seen those reports in the United States. Obviously, the protests, they've also spilled off into Australia. They've been in France. Now, it's not just a US trend, but we've also seen massive police presences throughout these universities. Why is it so heightened this time?
Well, what's interesting is that we've seen recently the president of Columbia University, who was at a hearing on April 17th, a congressional hearing, and the president was bullied by Republican representatives, just like previous presidents from Harvard and Penn had been bullied until eventually they had to resign. Now, the president of Columbia decided she might as well give in to the pressure, and the next day she called in the police. However, that move, which seemed to be exactly what the representatives wanted, proved counterproductive. That is, it has mobilized people. It has created a spectacle of repression. And this is not just in the US.
Exactly. And we were just talking about that in the US, where, you know, the crackdown has not led to a fizzling out of the protests. If anything, they seem to be growing, regardless of how much pressure they receive.
It has reverberated in different countries, including France, where I live, but also in Europe and throughout the world. So what it means is that, in fact, repression reverberates also with what happened in the past. It says something about the movement that mobilized against the war in Vietnam. And today, what we can see is that this takes on historical resonance, which I think has been underestimated by politicians. They did not understand.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction.
This dude is on
of the
point
20th
with this
century.
analysis right here.
That young people could feel very strongly about all this.
Well, this goes on to a theme that we have seen throughout history, as you say. We saw student uprisings against the Vietnam War. We saw student
Oh my god, I just realized that you all got over 30 likes and I never gave you your third character. Let me get my dice out here. Let me give it a roll. 3. What's... I'm gonna give you a double. Just because it's been an extra long stream. I feel like I personally need the extra support. Uh-oh, my stream software is freezing. Do not do this. We're gonna be friends today, you and me. All the way through this, baby. Come on. There we go. That's how you do it. Jessica and a Captain Planet, just because I'm feeling extra generous today. Okay, back to this.
Against apartheid in South Africa, the Arab Spring, the United States invasion of Iraq. Now we're seeing student uprisings against the treatment of Palestinians. What side of history do you expect this will be seen?
Well, it's interesting when...
Yep, I think you need to refresh, Mono. I have 32 in front of me, and I'm going to go by what I have here.
Look at opinion polls in different countries.
Whoa.
Whether it be in the US, in Germany, in the UK, in France as well, there's a generational gap. So what it means is that the people in power are on one side, and that young people are taking risks to defend another side. Now, what is interesting is that just like in the 1960s, the students are delegitimated by the powers that be. They're accused of being anti-Semitic, but also of being violent. They're accused of all kinds of things, of creating chaos. That was Joe Biden's phrase. But of course, when we hear Joe Biden not understanding students, it's very easy to understand that there's a generational gap. And we heard the student who was speaking in the interview before I spoke. It was quite clear that the question is also what's going to happen in November, whether it be in the US and Germany.
Okay, cool. That's all I thought we needed from that interview, although I thought it was just a great interview. It's so rare to hear it on mainstream media. Even if it is coming from France, France hasn't been exactly light-handed on protests. Although, protests in France are a little different too, so... You know, gotta weigh them all out. Alright, let's go on to this from 17 hours ago, where demonstrators were at the University of Amsterdam. Meanwhile, police came to crack down. Of course. What can we expect when using free speech? Police crackdown. Oh, damn. That barricade is serious. Amsterdam's getting crazy with it. Look at this barricade. This looks like... looks like the French Revolution over here.
Vervolgens heeft de UvA
University of
gevorderd dat de
Amsterdam
mensen
requested
het
the
terrein
people
moesten
to
verlaten.
leave the campus.
Daar is geen gehoor aan gegeven. Uiteindelijk heeft
After
het
the call was
Openbaar Ministerie
ignored,
beslist
ultimately
op het erf
public
rechtvredebreuk
prosecution
dat
office
de
decided
personen
based on the
het
breach of
terrein moesten
public order.
verlaten. En op basis...
The people had to leave the site. And on this basis, we cleared the area. Right, okay. There's always a law somebody's breaking somewhere, right? Just gotta find it. Then you can use it against the people you don't like. Okay, we got more to look at in Europe. This is in Berlin, Germany, where police drag students from a pro-Palestinian protest at the university in Berlin.
Richtung Otto von Simonstraße. Ein Verbleiben vor Ort stellt eine Ordnungswidrigkeit gemäß § 27 Absatz 1 Nummer 5 Versammlungsfreiheitsgesetz Berlin dar. Alle
Jesus Christ. Flashes of Colombia over here. Well, just a good reminder that the United States does not have a monopoly on fascism. In fact, some might say we imported it. But we do have our own unique brand, I guess you might say. Hookadookily. What is next? Okay, we did Amsterdam, we did Berlin. Oh, we're just going to watch this wrap it up. Just quickly discussing further the number of pro-Palestinian protests that are happening all across European universities. Man, struggling with the ducking right now. Pro-Palestinian protests have spread across Europe, echoing demonstrations at several U.S. colleges in recent weeks. Activists occupied a courtyard at Berlin's Free University and formed a human chain around their tents as police officers arrived. Officers detained several students after protesters refused to leave the university campus. Jesus Christ. That was super. Why did they tackle that dude out of the air? Jesus Christ. At the University of Amsterdam, abandoned tents were cleared away after violent clashes broke out between Dutch police and protesters the night before. Authorities say 125 people were detained. The protests have been calling for universities to cut academic ties with Israel. Yep, that's what they've all been saying. But you wouldn't know it from watching the mainstream media in the United States, generally speaking. Okay, moving along to other European-related stuff. Let's talk about
China.
Let's talk about the relationship between China and Europe. We're just going to wrap up our coverage of this as Xi Jinping is traveling through the European Union, meeting with a few select countries, including, France, Serbia, and Hungary. And this shows his wrapping up of the meeting, where him and Emmanuel Macron both made statements. Take a look at this. The world today has entered a new period of turbulence and change, as two important forces in the world, China and Europe, should adhere to their partnership positioning. Dialogue and cooperation, deepen strategic communication, enhance mutual strategic trust, gather strategic consensus, carry out strategic cooperation, promote stable and happy development of China-Europe relations. And the international situation very clearly requires this Euro-Chinese dialogue more than ever. And I expressed it again recently in my speech about our Europe. We are at a turning point in our history, which requires us to face and overcome the structural difficulties which involve economic trade, where the idea of decoupling would be harmful, and we have a responsibility to ensure a level playing field for all. What if there was someone in the tents? That's a fucking great question that I don't know if they even took into consideration. A lot of these very heavy-handed crackdowns on the protests seem to be less concerned about the safety of students and protesters than that of the supposed safety of property, I guess. But, yeah, the European-Chinese relationship is complicated, to say the least. And the fact that he's meeting with Serbia and Hungary, and those are the only two, aside from France, that he's meeting with, I think says a lot about where China's head is currently at, as Hungary and Serbia are somewhat... what's the word? I think they're actually both somewhat new additions to the EU, but also more, I feel like they keep to themselves more, right? Partly due to their histories. Okay, what are we doing next? Oh, yeah. All right. Quickly look at Russia here, where Vladimir Putin has begun his 5th term as Russian president after inauguration ceremony. And holy fuck, Russia's freaking whatever you call it, I think this is the Kremlin. This place is ridiculous. Why is everything covered in gold? Okay, it's Grand Kremlin Palace, where Putin won 87% of the vote, supposedly, according to Putin, which independent Russian election watchdog said was not free or fair. Yeah, no kidding. The election extends Putin's reign until at least 2030. Putin placed his hand on the Constitution as he swore the oath. When exercising the powers of the President of the Russian Federation, I swear to respect and protect the rights and freedoms of man and citizen. Yeah, of course he's going to protect certain citizens. He just wasn't very specific.
Защищать суверенитет и независимость, безопасность и целостность государства.
Anyway, he just basically, for most of this, just says he's going to be the best of the best. And make Russia great again. Basically, that's the whole speech. I have nutshelled it for you. You're welcome. Okay, let's look on to this from 10 hours ago. This is Al Jazeera English, where Ukraine has claimed that it foiled a Russian plot to assassinate President Zelensky.
Now, Ukraine State Security Service says it's foiled a planned assassination attempt on President Volodymyr Zelensky and other top military and political figures. Kyiv says it has detained 2 Ukrainian security officials it says were plotting Zelensky's assassination and is accusing Russia's spy agency of being behind the plan. Ukraine says it's foiled at least 10 attempts now to assassinate the president since Russia's invasion in 2022. So John Holman joins us live now from the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, with more on this story. Have you learned anything else about this, John?
Yes, actually, because the National Security Service of Ukraine, the SBU, have put out quite a lot of details, and there seems to have been more than one plan here. One of the plans was to kidnap and then kill President Volodymyr Zelensky. And as you mentioned there, Mariam, this was involving 2 colonels who have been arrested, allegedly, this was involving them in the attempt to get on side people in the military that were meant to be protecting President Zelensky so that this kidnapping and then this assassination could take place. So that was one.
Okay. I think that nutshells it pretty quickly for us there. Foiled assassination attempt by Russia on both Zelensky and some of his higher ups, it sounds like. And, yeah, the situation over there just continues to deteriorate. Yesterday, Putin was talking about how he wants to, he wants to remind everybody that he will use nukes if any Western troops come to help Ukraine, meanwhile doing nuclear arms tests at the same time, like a psychotic moron. Jesus Christ. Oh, the situation we are currently in is not good.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Okay. Let's look at this from 11 hours ago. Where Iran and the UN Nuclear Agency are discussing how to implement a 2023 deal on inspections.
We have proposed a series of very concrete technical actions which may constitute an agreed path.
He's the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep him down. Exactly. You get it. You get the reference.
And our technical teams are sitting down at this point in trying to define what these concrete measures and things beyond that, as Dr. Islami was rightly saying, can be adopted by us today.
The criminal entity, Israel, has been behind a destructive campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and things raised by this regime should no longer be used as a basis for inspections by the IAEA. So, if you didn't quite catch that, Iran says that because of Israel's involvement in the IAEA and its current onslaught/genocide on Gaza, it makes it invalid. So, who knows what exactly that means? Wait, you didn't hear this? Oh, I don't think you were here for the show yesterday, but Russia did nuclear arms tests and then told everybody that if the West sends any troops to Ukraine to help, that he will not hesitate to use them. And then reminded us of that by, I think, shooting a bunch of missiles into the sky like an asshole. Okay. Let's move on to the rest of Asia. Battle of Dien Bien Phu. Vietnamese commemorate the 70th anniversary. Now, if you're unaware, the Battle of Dien Bien Phu was something of a prerequisite to the Vietnam War. It was where the Vietnamese government at the time had defeated the French in battle, and they celebrate it every year.
Waged over 8 weeks in a remote border area of northern Vietnam, the Battle of Dien Bien Phu would have global repercussions. A modern French force defeated by a guerrilla army, despite support from the United States.
The battle in Indochina is critical, and I expect the French to win.
It led to the US filling the void left by the defeated French, but they couldn't stop the North's ultimate victory in the Vietnam War 20 years later.
This is a mammoth
display of national unity, because fighting and defeating the foreigners is part of the legitimacy of the regime.
Given pride of place at the celebrations, Vietnamese veterans of the battle now well into their 90s.
Dang.
At the time, we were
Dude
used
is
to hard
old.
living.
In full-throated battle cry, fighters charge out from their hidden positions. For the moment, however, their enemy is imagined and their rifles aren't real. They're new recruits, but they have no doubts about what they're training for.
If I have to, yeah, I'm prepared to kill. My main target is like to become a military doctor, but if I have to, so I think I will do that. If I choose to kill the people, that's not because of the hate of the soldier. So I focus. I need to protect my family and my people.
Watching carefully for military spotter planes, they're drilled on an open-air parade ground, put through their paces in the baking heat to teach them to follow orders, experience hardship, and work together. No.
Okay, hold on. This is like 10 minutes long, so I'm just gonna move us forward slightly.
Answers for the female.
Whoopsies. Yeah, right here seems like a good spot.
They're prepared to lay down their lives. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Eastern Myanmar.
And in Tony's final report from Eastern Myanmar, he'll look at the People's Defense Force, or the PDF, and the fighters who are taking on the junta. We can now speak to John Quinley, who's the director of 44 Rights. That's an NGO focusing on human rights in Myanmar, joining us from Bangkok. Welcome to Al Jazeera. I understand that you were recently in Karenni State in Myanmar. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks for having me today. I was recently, a few months back, in Karenni State in liberated areas that were liberated by the resistance forces. The time when I was in Karenni State, actually one of the large announcements about forced conscription was made by the military junta. I was speaking to KNDF forces at that time, and one of them said, you know, this is actually a really good thing for us. The people that are on the fence, the young men, women that are on the fence that may not want to join resistance forces are now going to join in big troves. And so.
Yeah, and the fact is there's still over, I believe, 500,000 Rohingya people in Myanmar, and a great number of them are apparently also joining up with the resistance forces. It's quite fascinating to see. Well, fascinating is the wrong word, but this is just a developing situation that's got a lot of history to it, so I figured we would at least keep ourselves aware of the developments that have been happening there, as that just came out like 12 hours ago. Alright, now on to India, where the final stage of the elections are underway. Let's look at this one. This is from 11 hours ago, according to the AP. India votes in third phase of elections as Modi escalates his rhetoric against Muslims.
India's huge 6-week-long election is nearly halfway through. On Tuesday, voters headed to the polls in 11 states. Among them is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home state of Gujarat. Modi, who's seeking a third straight term, began his campaign with a focus on economic progress and India's development under him. But more recently, he's doubled down on his Hindu nationalism platform. His political opponents have accused him and his Bharatiya Janata Party of using hate speech against India's Muslim minority community. At rallies, Modi has called them infiltrators who would take away wealth from India's Hindu population if the opposition were to win.
That's not the kind of a language you want coming out of a supposed democratic leader. Infiltrators of a massive minority ethnic group in the country? Wow.
Analysts say the change in the BJP's campaign tone comes as the party hopes to win a two-thirds majority in India's parliament, which they are trying to do by consolidating votes among the Hindu majority population. Another key challenge for Modi in the polls this time is India's southern region, which has historically rejected his party's Hindu-first politics. While nearly 970 million Indians are eligible to vote, the voter turnout in the first two phases so far has been around 66%.
And still a shit ton of people. 66% of a billion people is like 660 million people. They're not kidding when they say it's the biggest election on the planet. Now, is it perfectly free and fair? Not so sure about that. Doesn't appear to be, with some of the things we've been seeing, but it is at least an important thing to keep track of, considering the overwhelming numbers involved. All right, let's look at this. Wait, why is this in this order? Hold on. Alright, yeah, let's watch this, where about 22 hours ago, U.S. and Philippine forces staged combat drills off of southern Taiwan. Go, Web, go. So yeah, and I'm using this as context, but also it's important for us to keep aware of this sorts of military drills, in my opinion, with everything that's going on. But then, literally, like, I don't know, an hour after that was posted, I saw this come up. Australia accuses China of unsafe behavior after fighter jet releases flares in front of helicopter's path. Why can't we all just get along?
On the incident that we have reported on, we have made very strong representations at every level to China about this incident, which we regard as unprofessional and unacceptable. Australian Defence Force personnel were going about their job in international waters, but also in international skies, to support the United Nations in the sanctions that they have against the North Korean regime. That is part of Australia being good global citizens, and Australian Defence Force personnel should not be at risk whilst they're doing that. So we have a very...
Okay. So yeah, tensions are not going down in Asia right now. You might say they're kind of going up. But maybe I'm just too exposed to all this stuff. Okay, now to talk. Oh boy. I don't know if I like the way that this is. That's not bad. It's not that bad. Okay, yeah, I guess we'll start with this. And I actually meant to move this, but I still really want to watch this, so we're gonna. This is from Zateo, from 16 hours ago. Shameful and dystopian, quote unquote. Squad's representative, Summer Lee, blasts police attacks on student protesters.
Representative Summer Lee of Pennsylvania is, I think it's fair to say, one of the most proudly progressive members of Congress. Elected in 2022, she quickly joined the squad and quickly got attacked by the right. In the wake of October the 7th, Representative Lee co-sponsored one of the first resolutions in Congress calling for a ceasefire. And last week, despite being targeted by a pro-Israel billionaire and GOP mega donor, she won her primary race for the Democratic nomination by a pretty wide margin. Congresswoman Summer Lee joins me now. Thank you so much for coming on Mehdi Unfiltered today. Appreciate it.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
So, Congressman, when you look at the tough race that you just ran in your district, how do you think you managed to win such an impressive victory against a billionaire-backed Democratic primary opponent, Bhavani Patel? You went from narrowly winning your primary in 2022, I think by 1,000 votes, to winning it by 20,000 votes this time. How?
Well, I think that, right? We're not new to this. You know, since 2018, when I first ran for the State House, I have had to go up against different folks, always from the right. Since 2022, it's been, a different, billionaire, Republican billionaire, backpack. So we have a blueprint. But also, we've been working. I think a lot of people really took for granted. We say, oh, there's an incumbent advantage, but we don't actually talk about what that incumbent, advantage is. And for us, it was the movement that we have been building, the electoral movement in Western Pennsylvania for the last 6 or so years, where every cycle we have been organizing. We've expanded the electorate. We have been offering people in this region. Put the work in. And we put it in every single day, not just on the electoral side. We put the work in on the political side or on the official side, right? Where we served our constituents. We did the basic traditional politics as well as the organizing work, and we combined all of those things. So I think it made it very difficult for people to come in.
Wait, she's a direct descendant of Robert E. Lee. Is that true? I wonder how that makes Republicans feel. Oh, God.
Try to brand us when we had already done the work to brand ourselves.
What do you say to your critics who say you won because of low turnout? It was the lowest turnout primary race, I think, since 2018 in that district, which gave you as the incumbent a big advantage.
That's so sweet. First of all, I've won in low turnout and I've won in high turnout. I've won with millions of dollars spent against me, and I've won where I've outspent other people. The common denominator is that we win. The common denominator is that we do the work to bring out our people. We do the work to put out our positive message, and people relate to it, and people are excited by it. I would argue, and I think that a lot of people would probably join us, is that if turnout were higher, we'd probably have a higher margin, because the type of folks who did not turn out are a lot of folks who are a part of our coalition.
Okay, just gonna move us forward just slightly, as this is like a 20-minute interview. It's a great interview. You should definitely go watch it. But right now, we're just gonna hit a couple of the key spots, I would say.
Because they want to know, is there a pathway for us to free ourselves, to free our party, from Netanyahu, right, who we know is a right-wing extremist. Yeah. He doesn't even align with the Democratic Party. So I think that is absolutely a dynamic.
I wonder if we'll see what happens to the Israel lobby in the same way that we saw what happened to the gun lobby, which is totally not bipartisan anymore. It's basically a Republican front group, and AIPAC in many ways has become that as well. The Democrats haven't quite caught up.
We haven't, but we know that AIPAC has endorsed over 200 anti-choice politicians right now, while the Democratic Party is making, Roe v. Wade is making...
I missed that while listening to this at 2X today. 200 anti-choice candidates. Wow.
Abortion care and access, the biggest issue in 2024. Well, we also have to contend at the same time with the fact that one of their greatest friends or proclaimed allies are actually working against them actively through their donors and through the people on the right who they are supporting. We can't have it both ways.
One very prominent pro-Israel Democrat is Senator John Fetterman of your state of Pennsylvania, your Commonwealth, who ran as a progressive but now recoils from that label. He actually endorsed you in this race. Would you endorse him for re-election when it's his turn? Because he's upset a lot of people in your base, a lot of young people, a lot of activists mocking them, people who knocked on doors for him. He's attacked them, attacked pro-Palestinian activists. Would you endorse him back?
Is he running in 5 years? Listen, this is going to be the most political answer that I'm going to give you, but it's also not even a political answer. He doesn't even have a race for 5 years. Right now, we are fighting for the heart and the soul of our democracy. We have so much to worry about before we get there, but also we have a lot of work to do to make more people come over to our side.
So let me not ask you a campaign question. Let me ask you a substantive question. When Senator Fetterman says, as he recently did on CNN, that President Biden shouldn't, quote, pander to what he says is the fringe of the Democratic Party on Gaza, and that pandering to that fringe, to people like you, who are calling for a ceasefire, quote, empowers Hamas. That's what he says you're doing. What do you say to him, to your Democratic senator?
Oh, I think it's incredibly insulting.
Yeah.
There are no men's words about that. I think that is incredibly insulting. I think that as somebody who represents the same neighborhood, I'm from North Braddock, right? Braddock's neighboring community. My family's from Braddock. So I know the folks in that area too. And as somebody who just had to run an election post October 7th, I've spent my time talking to Jewish constituents. I've talked to the Muslim and the Palestinian and the Arab ones. I've talked to black and young and brown ones and progressive ones. And we are not the fringe at all. If folks were to open their eyes and actually listen to what people in our, not just district, right, not just state, country, what they're saying, they would see that truly those people who believe that Netanyahu has carte blanche to do whatever he wants, that the civilian casualty rate is not concerning, the people who believe that all Palestinians are connected to Hamas or terrorists or abhorrent, that it is a dangerous rhetoric that we see has direct impacts on the lives, the safety of Muslims, of Arabs, the Palestinians, and those people who are perceived to be those.
We're also throwing around the Hamas label in a very dangerous.
Okay. Cool. Well, that interview is honestly really, really good. And we're not going to watch the whole thing together, but I felt like those were some of the better parts of it. And, of course, if you're not already, go subscribe to Mehdi Hassan's new channel, Zateo. It is a fantastic addition to our choices on YouTube as lefties and pro-Palestine supporters. But we cannot just have fun. There is a bunch of other shit to look at. First, before we start talking about this, let's look at this from Anthony Guterres at the UN, where he said, quote unquote, "Make no mistake, the full-scale assault on Rafah would be a human catastrophe."
Hearing now from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
It's a decisive moment for the Palestinian and Israeli people and for the fate of the entire region. An agreement between the government of Israel and the leadership of Hamas is essential to stop the unbearable suffering of Palestinians in Gaza and of the hostages and their families. It would be tragic if weeks of intense diplomatic activity for peace in Gaza yield no ceasefire, no release of hostages, and a devastating offensive in Rafah. I reiterate my appeal for both parties.
Seriously, Anthony Guterres seems more concerned about the hostages than Benjamin Netanyahu, and the whole look good together.
Show the political courage and spare no effort to secure an agreement now, to stop the bloodshed, to free the hostages, and to help stabilize a region which is still at risk of explosion. This is a crucial opportunity that the region, and indeed the world, cannot afford to miss. Yet things are moving in the wrong direction. I'm disturbed and distressed by the renewed military activity in Rafah by the Israeli Defense Forces. The closure of both Rafah and Karem Shalom crossings is especially damaging to an already dire humanitarian situation.
Okay. The rest of it is him saying very similar stuff. Very sensible things that will probably fall upon a lot of deaf ears, but at least we're listening. Okay. Where are we now? Oh. Good. This is going to be my favorite part of the day. And by favorite, I mean most annoying. All right, let's look at this from 8 hours ago, where the White House held a press briefing after Israel seized the Rafah crossing, threatening aid to Gaza. And, yeah, little Corinne Jean-Pierre action. However, it's a 45-minute long video, and I gotta get us
to Israel's security is
to where I want us to listen from. Where was it? Like right here, I think she says.
aggression into Ukraine. So, as you also know, under Putin's leadership, Russia launched this brutal and unprovoked war, and Russian authorities have engaged in here. I just don't have anything to add. Okay, Michael.
That's great. In light of the president's speech today, does the administration support the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which just passed the House last week, and with the president's side?
So I've been asked this question a couple times. Look, we appreciate Congress's effort to deal with obviously an issue, not just an issue, but anti-Semitism, which is hate. And we have denounced that over and over again and have called it abhorrent. And so we appreciate that Congress is taking action here. I know there are other efforts, legislative efforts. So
she's stoked about these efforts that we talked about, I think, yesterday and the day before, where not only is Congress, but also state houses are putting into law anti-Semitism bills, which include as their definitions the criticism of the state of Israel.
We're going to let that process move forward, but this is a president from, one of the reasons, obviously, he decided to jump into the 2020 election is because what he saw, the anti-Semitic vial that he saw in Charlottesville, wrote about it.
And so we got to pause here again. Right here, the fact that they're still they're attempting to compare what's happening on campuses with what happened at Charlottesville, it's deeply offensive and it's fucked.
I don't want reality.
It's just this completely sort of like ass backwards assessment of what's happening.
Decided to jump into the elections back in 2019, and so he has spoken against anti-Semitism throughout his career. He'll continue to do so. We're going to let Congress go through their process. Okay.
On the border, southern border and border security, can you give us an update on executive actions that the president is planning? Are you planning a rollout of those actions in coming days or weeks?
Don't have any announcement on any executive actions. Obviously, we look at all options. We believe the challenges at the border is a priority, important to majority of Americans. We believe that the immigration system is not even something we believe, it's fact, has been broken decades now.
So this one is ridiculous as well, and just the fact, like, I'm just trying to get us to the point where she actually talks about Israel. I can't remember the exact point. But, most of what she's saying here is just fucking insane. The fact that Democrats are jumping all over the border right now is like, I feel like the worst strategy just makes them look even more tone deaf.
Why the president took action on his first day in office and put forth a comprehensive legislation. Now there is indeed a bipartisan Senate agreement that should move forward, but was held back because of the former president saying that.
You know what? I'm just gonna go to this. I forgot I have this already from thank you. Okay, let's watch this from 5 hours ago, where a reporter sparred with Corinne Jean-Pierre over Israel blocking aid to Gaza.
Thank you, Kareem. Cindy McCain, the head of the UN World Food Program, said over the weekend that northern Gaza is currently experiencing full-blown famine. That famine is moving southward towards southern Gaza. Currently, as you and Mr. Kirby have said, the two main checkpoints for aid, Kerem Shalom and Rafah, are closed, and the president has asked for those to be reopened. This is an ongoing pattern. Israel closes crossings, the president asks for them to be reopened, The crossings are eventually reopened. Some aid starts to flow through again, but then Israel cuts off the flow of aid into Gaza once more, even though the president has said multiple times that it is important that aid be flowing continuously, and he seems to keep pushing for it, only to get these one step forward, two steps back results. Does the White House have any plan to convince, cajole, pressure Israel into allowing a steady flow of aid into Gaza, other than asking nicely?
So let's just say, just give a little bit of readout. Over the past, since early April, the past several weeks, we have seen over 5,000 trucks entered Gaza. That includes almost 200 humanitarian and commercial trucks a day. On average, entering Gaza in the last 3 weeks, some days 400 plus truckloads of enter. Let me. It is important to let the American people know that we have seen an uptick here, and it is important.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if there's an uptick, but the fact that they want to claim the uptick is some, like, just a huge win, and that the fact that they've closed the borders multiple times in between some of these upticks is not a problem somehow. It's just ignoring the facts.
There are other crossings. These are not the only two. But to your point, it is unacceptable that these two crossings are closed, which is why the president called the prime minister directly yesterday to ask and to say that the Shalom crossing should be open. We have said, I have said at the top, to answering one of your colleagues' questions, that we expect the crossing, the Kerem Shalom crossing, to be open tomorrow, including Rafah. It is important. We agree. It is important to get that humanitarian aid in, and we will continue to do so, continue to make sure that we get as much humanitarian aid as possible. That's why we've been upticking our efforts. And
oh no. My stream software just did some real weird shit. What is happening? Oh my god, I've lost all of my buttons. All I can see is chat. I can see chat, I can see the screen, but I can't switch between any of my screens. That's not good. Why is this happening? Come on. This is fucked. Okay. Weird. Is this gonna change back? Oh god. What in the I've never seen this happen before. The whole screen is just flat gray. Come on. Good God. Okay. I guess I'll just go to the next video for now. Hope it just fixes itself. Oh, God. Alright, we're going to watch like 10 seconds of this next clip of Biden, where he says that the downplaying of Hamas's October 7th attack must stop.
I don't want reality.
Right now, President Biden is delivering remarks at the U.S. Capitol, so we're going to listen in.
Thank you, Jen. Please. Thank you, Stu Eisenstadt, for that introduction, for your leadership in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. You're a true scholar and statesman and a dear friend. Speaker Johnson.
Okay, that's about all I can handle of this one. Fact is for most of this, he just gaslights all of us, claims that protesters are you know, being violent and anti-Semitic, and they're not protesting in good faith and all this other garbage. But the fact is, the criticism I have of this whole video is of the title and of this one phrase that he says, that the downplaying of Hamas and the October 7th attack must stop. It's just bullshit, right? I think we've all seen enough videos of Piers Morgan demanding that every single one of his guests condemn October 7th and Hamas before he'll even have conversations with people. We've seen over and over again, going up until last week, this week maybe even, where there are news stories that are still trying to explain to us what happened October 7th as if we don't know. And, you know, it's just this sort of collective gaslighting on what's actually happening. And my stream software's still fucked, which is great. So we're just going to keep moving like this, even though it's clearly not what I want. Okay. What's next? Alright, this is from 19 hours ago from Al Jazeera, where 2 Israeli soldiers were killed by a Hezbollah drone strike near the town of Metula. Come on, stream software. Let's be friends.
2 Israeli soldiers have been killed in a Hezbollah drone attack. The cross-border strike launched from southern Lebanon hit targets near the northern Israeli settlement of Metula. It was part of a series of attacks by Hezbollah that included rocket attacks. The Israeli army said it's since struck several Hezbollah structures and compounds in the south of Lebanon. Zaina Khudur is joining us from Marjayoun in the south of Lebanon. So Zaina, just talk to us about, first of all, that Hezbollah attack that killed 2 Israeli soldiers.
Well, yes, 2 Israeli soldiers killed in a Hezbollah-claimed attack. They used an armed drone to hit an Israeli military position in Metula. That's along the border. In fact, it's the hill just behind me. Now, these were not the first Israeli casualties in this ongoing confrontation, which began when Hezbollah opened up a front to help its ally Hamas in Gaza. Now, Hezbollah's attacks become more lethal when it wants to send a message. And they also become more lethal because of the timing, coinciding with international efforts to try to end the war on Gaza. So Hezbollah sending a message to the Israelis that they can cause harm, they can make them pay dearly if this confrontation continues. But overall, the nature...
Okay. So, yeah, I think we all know what this is in retaliation to, or in response to, after Israel announced its invasion of Rafah. Hezbollah has clearly responded, hitting a military position on its border. So, yeah, what do we got next here? My software is still freaking lagged. Can't even go back and forth between my different screens. It's very helpful. Loving that. We might not even get an after stream today if this is the case. If this doesn't fix itself, we're in trouble. Because I can get through this portion of the stream, technically, without doing these, even though I hate it, because I just like to clear our brains of these images between all of this stuff we're doing. I guess I could just do this. Yeah, that helps. I can live with that. Okay, okay, yeah, this is from 23 hours ago. Al Jazeera English once again. Palestinians evacuate eastern Rafah ahead of expected Israeli assault.
It's the moment Palestinians in Rafah have been dreading. An Israeli warning on Monday morning to leave eastern neighborhoods before it starts a ground attack has caused severe...
Yeah, I know at that point she says what you're saying, but then at the end of that video, she also says what I'm saying. So it's clearly a multiple reason type of deal. I mean, Hezbollah and Israel have been shooting at each other kind of non-stop. Not non-stop, not as non-stop as they've been attacking Gaza, but there's been quite a lot of back and forth.
Panic. With the little possessions they have, Palestinians are on the move again. The majority have been displaced several times since the war started last year. Traumatized, this mother tells her family to pack whatever they can. She's scared, she says, of what lies ahead.
Only God knows if we'll end up without a home again. We don't know where to go. We don't know if Israel will destroy our house or if we'll live or die.
Many of those forced to leave are children. Their parents are left with little choice.
We don't know where to go. Mawasi is full of people and Khan Yunis is overcrowded. They won't open the Egyptian border for us, so where shall we go? I can't explain how we feel.
The Israeli military dropped leaflets from the air warning that extreme force will be used on Rafah, a city already overwhelmed with 1.5 million Palestinians sheltering there. And this is one of the areas that Israel has told tens of thousands of Palestinians to move to, Al-Mawasi, an overcrowded shoreline with makeshift tents as far as the eye can see. The Israeli military also wants them to go to some of the most heavily bombed places since the war started, like Khan Yunis and Deir al-Balah, areas that have turned into rubble.
Exactly. I was making this point to the T yesterday, where we were looking over photos of what Khan Yunis is left looking like right now, and it's worse than a construction site. It's very frustrating. Wow, since my stream software is frozen, I don't even know how long I've been going for now. 3 hours? Okay, that's not terrible. Could be worse. I really wish my stream software would start working. I would love that, actually. Be big into that. Okay, what is next? Alright, yeah, let's take a look at this one. This is the beginning of the invasion, where Israel struck Rafah from the air. This is 21 hours ago. Why does my stream software hate me so much?
Now, all of this comes as the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt are brokering talks between Israel and Hamas for a ceasefire. Today, Hamas agreed to a proposal that would include the release of hostages. But Israel said the deal is far from its requirements, and the military is conducting airstrikes right now on Rafah. NBC4's Darsha Phillips joins us live from the newsroom with more. Darsha.
Yeah, Colleen, a Gaza ceasefire remains uncertain. The U.S. says talks are at a critical stage.
Okay, that's crazy. So I can technically click between the scenes. I just have to guess which one I'm clicking. Oh, this is gonna be fun, chat. This is gonna be fun.
Meanwhile, airstrikes on Gaza's southern city of Rafah continues.
In Gaza, people celebrated after word the fighting would stop. In Israel, there was hope the hostages would finally be returned. In the end, the fighting continues. Israeli airstrikes hit Rafah. Israel saying the agreement Hamas had signed off on is far from a deal it had proposed. The U.S., which endorsed the Israeli proposal, is not giving up on a ceasefire. CIA Director Bill Burns is in Egypt, which along with Qatar has been attempting to broker the deal, and Israel is dispatching a delegation to negotiate.
We got a response from Hamas. Now
Director Burns is working through that, trying to assess it, working with the Israelis. I mean, my goodness, folks, I don't know that it gets any more sensitive than right now.
Hamas reportedly altered the proposal in a number of areas. NBC News saying the Gaza government refused to indicate if the hostages to be returned were still alive and not the remains of those who have died in captivity. And Hamas insisted it was to be a permanent ceasefire. Israel has only agreed to a temporary cessation of fighting.
And that tentative deal is not really happening. This is from an hour later. The AP. Israeli forces take control of the Gaza side of Rafah crossing with Egypt. Fuck's sake. How many times have I said that this is just insane and that this Rafah attack can't happen? Like, for real, though, I feel like I've said it, what, 30, 40 times, 50 times, 100 times? Can't attack Rafah. This can't happen. This is a fucking stupid plan. I don't understand why they need to genuinely finish the genocide in front of everyone. Just stop it. Just stop it. Sorry. We're gonna keep watching this. It's just pissing me off a lot. Hey, but at least my software is working. We can take that with us. It's one optimistic thing. Does it fix any of this? Absolutely not. Okay, this is good enough for that one. Very, very frustrating. However, this next one, it's going to be even more frustrating. I don't even want to read this, but here we go. Israeli tanks crush I Love Gaza sign and take control of Palestinian side of Rafah crossing. This is more footage of the same incursion being done by Israeli tanks. In this, though, you get to watch something really sad. You can kind of hear him saying "fuck Gaza" as he runs over that sign that's clearly non-military. Completely unnecessary destruction of shit. Granted, it's not as sad as the rest of what they're doing, but for whatever, symbolically, it made me sad. Just the fact that it had survived this long and now it's taken down just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Here you can see Israelis raising an Israeli flag inside Rafah. Shit's just so fucked. Okay. What do I got next? Do this one too? No, we're gonna skip this one. Move on to this. Just actually, do we even need to watch that one? I think we're gonna move all the way to this piece. This is from Democracy Now!, where Democracy Now! Had former Israeli peace negotiator Daniel Levy on to discuss U.S. pressure on Israel. Actually, no, let's watch this one as well, just to have them break this down for us. No. We're too late. It's gone too far. There we go.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined in Chicago by Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Palestinians say nowhere is safe in Rafah as Israeli forces carried out heavy aerial bombardment again overnight and moved in with tanks, seizing the Rafah crossing on Gaza's border with Egypt. The Israeli military released video showing soldiers raising an Israeli flag near the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing and a tank running over an I Love Gaza sign. Over 1 million Palestinians have fled to Rafah since October 7th. Israel's war cabinet voted to move forward with its Rafah military operation Monday, even after Hamas said it had accepted a ceasefire proposal. Israel says the proposal, which was developed with mediators from Qatar and Egypt, falls short of its demands. At one point, Al Jazeera reported people in Rafah started celebrating upon hearing the announcement that Hamas had accepted the Gaza ceasefire proposal. This is a displaced child in Gaza, Malak, responding to the news Monday.
We were optimistic when Hamas agreed to the ceasefire proposal. We were very optimistic. But Israel procrastinated, and it is going too far. They don't want to agree for ceasefire, and they want to raid Rafah. They dropped leaflets, and we don't know what to do or where to go.
Meanwhile, thousands of people rallied across Israel Monday night, calling for an immediate deal to release the hostages still held in the Gaza Strip, criticizing the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. On Monday, U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller responded to questions about Hamas accepting the Gaza ceasefire proposal from Egypt and Qatar.
The last thing I would ever want to do from this podium is say something that could put this very sensitive process at greater risk. We are at a critical stage right now.
I'd love it if Mr. Kirby here would say anything helpful to the situation. For fuck's sake, I don't care if you make a mistake at this point. What have you done that's been helpful?
Got a response from Hamas. Now, Director Burns is working through that, trying to assess it, working with the Israelis. I mean, my goodness, folks, I don't know that it gets any more sensitive than right now. And
the thing about it is, like, where is the U.S. pressure, right? Why is it that, John Kirby, Joe Biden, they're only, Anthony Blinken, everything we've heard from them is to pressure Hamas to take the deal, as if Hamas cares what America thinks. Right? Meanwhile, no pressure on Israel to take deal after deal after deal that have been presented to them, starting with the first one in like October 10th or something.
First thing that we can do is start speculating about what's in it.
That's White House spokesperson John Kirby. In a statement today, Hamas called for international intervention to push Israel towards a ceasefire. For more, we go to London, where we're joined by former Israeli peace negotiator Daniel Levy. He's president of the U.S. Middle East Project, was an Israeli peace negotiator under Israeli Prime Ministers Ehud Barak and Yitzhak Rabin. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Daniel Levy. If you can talk about the latest that is understood about the ceasefire proposal, what Hamas has accepted, what Israel has refused to accept at this point, though they have sent a mid-level delegation to continue the negotiations.
With pleasure, Amy, as long as you let me just very quickly acknowledge that John Kirby and the White House have done very little from their podium except undermine the prospects of ending this war for the last month.
Hold on, sorry. By the way, this is one of the only videos that I haven't watched the entirety of or even listened to the entirety of because I threw it in here as I was wrapping up my preparations for the stream. I was like, oh, I really want to watch this. So we're kind of watching this together for the first time, if you will. Well, at least I am. I don't know about you, chat.
So I think it's a little bit rich for the spokesperson, Mr. Kirby, to stand there and say the last thing I'd want to do is undermine it. You've done very little else for many, many months. If we are getting close, then why did you wait this long? Why have so many thousands of children died and suffered appallingly, along with all of the Palestinian civilian population? And why have those hostage families had to wait so long? Now, what's going on? What has been proposed? What has been agreed? There is a document that has been leaked. I cannot speak to its veracity, but I understand that it is certainly close to what we understand to be discussed. And there are two key components to this, Amy. One is this thing that we have been circling around for months now, which is, does a pause, a hostage release, a release of Palestinian prisoners being held in Israeli jails, does this represent the beginning of a sustained calm, a sustained ceasefire, an on-ramp to that permanent ceasefire? Or is this limited in time, duration, and then Israel continues to enter Rafah, carry out its assault on Gaza? If Hamas turned around and said, at the end of 40 days, we're going to launch rockets on southern Israel, I think people would say, well, that's a bit of a strange deal. But if Israel says at the end of 40 days, we're going to launch an assault on Rafah, then this is apparently a reasonable response. And that's the key thing. And I think what has happened this time around is that
it's a massive fucking double standard that he's pointing out here.
To testing each other, the Hamas and Israeli parties are testing the United States of America and the Biden administration in an unprecedented way. What do I mean by that? I think we've come this far because Hamas detects that the US may finally be serious about offering a sustained calm, about guaranteeing, and it can't be ironclad, but at least credibly guaranteeing the...
Hold on, we just gotta stop it on this.
And it can't be ironclad.
You can see these are the flyers that they were dropping to tell people to leave Rafah and to go to Khan Yunis. And it's just this, you can see it's just an arrow and two shaded regions. It's like, leave here, go here. Good luck. Wow. It's fucked.
But at least credibly guaranteeing that they do not see a continuation of the war after 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. On the flip side, Prime Minister Netanyahu is testing, are the US serious? Are they really going to hold off my weapons supplies? Are they really going to lay the blame at my door if I'm the recalcitrant party? Because that will be difficult for me to sustain domestically. We don't yet have the answer from the Biden administration in unequivocal terms. I think that will be crucial. That's the key question. Then, Amy, there are the details of the agreement, which will be hard to iron out. But if you've got this core question addressed of, are we really going to a ceasefire or are we going to a temporary pause? And unless it's the former, this can't be done.
Okay. Maybe watch a little bit more, but I'm just going to move us ahead a little bit. Yeah, this seems like a good spot.
Of internal and external. So I think the next question one would have to address is, where does the external pressure stand?
I wanted to go to another clip, this of U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller.
So I can confirm that Hamas has issued a response. We are reviewing that response now and discussing it with our partners in the region. As you know, Director Burns is in the region working on this in real time. We will be discussing this response with our partners over the coming hours. We continue to believe that a hostage deal is in the best interests of the Israeli people. It's in the best interest of the Palestinian people. It would bring an immediate ceasefire. It would allow increased movement of humanitarian assistance, and so we're going to continue to work to try to reach one.
And So if you can talk, he's referring to the CIA director, Burns, who is intimately involved with these negotiations. He's going back and forth. If you can talk about his significance. And when you talked about the role of the United States, how exactly has it stopped this from happening to this point, Daniel Levy?
Yes, I wish I could confirm that the US has stopped this from happening. I mean, firstly, Amy, let's just go back to those scenes you showed earlier on. Palestinians in Gaza celebrating when the news came through of the Hamas acceptance of the terms of a deal. I think one can understand their celebrations, not only, of course, because of what they've been going through, but also they have been told, if anyone takes the United States government seriously, they have been telling us, Blinken said this in his last visit, they have been telling us that all it takes is a Hamas yes. So I think many of us...
Exactly. Exactly right. This is the true test, because that is exactly what they've been saying. Israel keeps saying Hamas needs to put down their weapons. And just yesterday we heard that it may be that Hamas will be willing, depending on the deal, willing to put down their weapons forever, supposedly. And that's what the supposed barrier to everything has been, because it's unacceptable for Hamas to continue to exist. Okay, let's watch this from 10 hours ago, where Netanyahu made a statement: attacking Rafah is necessary to return the captives.
I don't want reality.
Events in Rafah are unfolding against the backdrop of ceasefire negotiations being brokered by Qatar and Egypt. Israel's prime minister has released a video message saying Hamas's proposal falls short of Israel's demands.
Israel will not allow Hamas to return to rule in Gaza. We will not allow them to rebuild their military capabilities and continue their project of destroying us. Israel will not approve any proposal that constitutes a threat to Israel's security and future. For that reason, I have ordered our delegation that went to Cairo to continue to insist on our demand to guarantee our security. In parallel, we will continue our war against Hamas. Our entry into Rafah is a very important step. Our army is on its way to destroy the remainder of their capabilities.
Let's bring in...
Okay, that's all we need from that. Just a completely nonsense statement, considering what was proposed by Hamas. What was that? Oh. You're not okay with blaming Israel for Netanyahu being a genocidal idiot. Right. No, I get what you're saying. Not all Israelis are complicit. And I understand the distinction. And I think that it's important for that. But there is levels of complicity within Israel. I think we can all agree there. In terms of, you know, starting with his cabinet, going down through IDF and the Likud and the, what's it, Mar Ben-Gvir's party again? Like, there's a bunch of people who are very complicit in this, yeah. But you're right, not every Israeli is complicit, and that should be something remembered. Oh, okay, this is our penultimate video here. This is another Democracy Now! Report. This is from right after that interview with Daniel Levy, where they spoke with someone on the ground in Rafah, discussing Israel's invasion.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. As the Israeli military strikes Rafah in southern Gaza after Hamas agreed Monday to a ceasefire proposal, we go now to Rafah for an update on the situation there, including access to humanitarian aid. The White House said Monday a ceasefire does not have to be in place for a pier off of Gaza to be operational to bring in aid, but the pier's construction was temporarily paused last week due to bad weather. Israel seized the Rafah crossing on Gaza's border with Egypt overnight. This comes after Israel also closed the Karam Abu Salem crossing in southern Gaza this weekend after a Hamas attack killed 4 Israeli soldiers. For more, we're joined by Akram al-Satari, the Gaza-based journalist joining from Rafah in southern Gaza near the Kuwaiti hospital. Akram, welcome back to Democracy Now! Can you talk about what's happening on the ground right now? What does it mean that Israeli tanks have moved in, that they've seized the crossing with Egypt, and how are people responding?
I just realized my
Well,
top
as a matter
chat.
of fact, to start with, that means a life.
I always forget that even as the streamer, I can still be stuck in top chat, which is happening right now. This is very offensive to me.
Has just been blocked. That means the movement of people who are traveling out of Gaza and people who are returning to Gaza has already been blocked. That means the patients who are in need to medical care and are transferred somewhere outside of Gaza are denied that access. That means the general population in southern Gaza and northern Gaza alike are deprived from the food supplies that were delivered and were even slow before this last development take place, and that people are talking, and ironically they have been saying that Israel has been successful in 2 major military fronts yesterday. The major front number 1 is that they controlled Rafah border, which is a civilian facility that is in charge of facilitating the entry and departure of people into and outside of Gaza. And number 1, that the Israeli army succeeded in destroying the I Love You Gaza banner, which means they have been out and about to destroy anything that has to do with life or love in the Gaza Strip. People are extremely worried. They understand that they will be greatly affected by that operation, and they understand as well that Israel has been playing that card for the sake of consolidating its position when it comes to the negotiations that are still underway between Hamas and between Israel, which is brokered indirectly by Egypt and Qatar, and with the supervision and support of the American administration.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to move us forward just slightly.
Over the weekend, Al Jazeera from reporting in the country and raided the Al Jazeera's Jerusalem bureau. So many reporters and Al Jazeera reporters have been killed since this war started. Do you fear that this is an attempt to stamp out any reporting from Gaza just before this new potential invasion of Rafah?
In general, the Israeli army and the Israeli political leader are so fed up with the performance of all different media outlets. But the irony when it comes to Al Jazeera is that they have been talking about the freedom of expression, and now they are just banning Al Jazeera from transmitting the news bulletins from their, what they call their soil. They have killed so far 149 journalists, and they have been chasing different news outlets, including some of the review of the materials and of the news bulletins that are provided by the reporters on the ground, and then going after those reporters that might be providing some different narrative than the narrative that they want to see on the ground, that they want to see reported to the people and to the public. So,
right, exactly. Israel is sick of not as much the internal sentiment, but I think they're more concerned about the external sentiment that is being created from Al Jazeera's videos from inside Israel and Gaza. So they got them right out of there before this invasion of Rafah. All right, well, this is technically our final video, although we'll see how that goes right now. This is from a day ago, from Guardian News. Quote unquote, we don't know where to go. Palestinians flee Rafah after Israeli evacuation order. People were seen packing their belongings and leaving Rafah after Israel's army called for people to evacuate the eastern neighborhoods of Rafah. Israeli leaders have reiterated their commitment to launch an offensive on the southern city. That donkey looks like it's seen better days. Over 1 million Palestinians are left there. Leaflets were dropped over Rafah telling people to head to what Israel says is a quote-unquote humanitarian zone. Sorry, I was trying to finish that first sentence and couldn't catch up with her. Where am I going to go? I don't have money or anything. I'm seriously tired. Me and the children who are with me. Where am I going to go?
احنا شعب اليوم ما في الا رب العالمين يعني لا مأوى ولا اكل ولا شرب ولا امور زي هذه
والله ما احنا عارفين وين نروح كنا قاعدين نزحنا من غزة ومش عارفين وين نروح عمال
Yep. Where are they supposed to go? Rafah's the last place that isn't completely destroyed. And yet they insist on invading it. And, which one is this? Hold on. We might need to look at this. No, we'll just wait until tomorrow. It's probably for the best. Well, chat, we've made it through another one. This one was, for some reason, even more arduous than usual, so very thankful for having had all of you here with me. That's it for me, StreamLord. Till I see you next time. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. You can't forget these folks. These are your galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Mitty, Robot Cat, Pitchforks Dragon, The Anti-Corporatist, Vincent Morales, and Donald James X. You too can become a galactic patron for just a few dollars a month. Oh shit, I'm gonna open up another window to make it tight.
Jesus, I say that.
And the box is full of Pepe.